computer. Yeah, and I will make it larger. I hope that you see this. Okay. This will be the lecture which we did it recently on the Conference of Ethics, European Conference of Ethics in Zagreb. And since people have been very much interested in that, we will repeat, since we failed to record this session during the conference. And the title is regarding everything what's happened on the Vertical Blue case, where we had the anti-doping rules violation and violation of human rights. So somehow, I mean, I will try to, how to say, describe everything what's happened there, that you could have your own conclusion. Regarding everything, maybe first I could introduce myself. I'm Professor Dr. Nenad Dikic. I am working in anti-doping for more than 20 years. I established Anti-Doping Agency of Serbia. I'm also running a service providing agency recognized by WADA. In the same time, I'm active in more than 6 international federations, from UEFA to AIDA, where I'm currently working as an anti-doping manager. So somehow from that point, I was informed about this case, and then I will try to present it to you, everything what's happened there. Before we start, maybe I should just introduce the athletes, which are well known to you, all of you. There are 2 actually world champions who are in free diving for years. And not only they are world champions, they are very active in both international federations, CIMAS and AIDA, and they are, how to say, ruling everything on a local, national level, and they are very active internationally. So we are speaking about elite free diving athletes. They are also, how to say, NADAMs, and they are recently and many times before tested out of competition. So somehow they are really involved in anti-doping program for both organizations. And what's happened here, you could see the short video, which is describing everything what's happened at the beginning. They arrived more than 2 weeks before competition on Bahamas on a Vertical Blue competition. Vertical Blue competition is licensed of AIDA, and they have been weighted by a local organizer, William Trubridge, who escorted them to remote police office, where they have been searched and tested. What is also important to mention that William Trubridge is local organizer and also competitor on Vertical Blue. And the Vertical Blue is a private entity under the license of AIDA. What we could say about that? We could say that that was unlawful and illegitimate action of Vertical Blue. And there are many, how to say, articles which are proving that. Just one where it's written that neither athlete or athlete sport personnel and any other person with a conflict of interest could not be involved in test distribution planning for the athletes in the process of selection of athletes and testing. So this is a pure case of conflict of interest where local organizer and competitor was part of anti-doping planning and part of anti-doping, how to say, organization. And even more, Vertical Blue is a private entity which own anti-doping policy. And what is strange, they put in own anti-doping policy some substances which are not actually on the prohibited list of WADA. So you could see here that it's written that on Vertical Blue, whatever it's called, anti-doping policy, there are all substances currently banned by WADA, but then some substances connected with thyroid glands, benzodiazepines, calcium channel blockers, beta blockers. Beta blockers are already on WADA prohibited list, and any prescription substances that enhance performance in apnea and free diving, whatever it is. So somehow, what I could tell you with all my experience and everything connected with anti-doping, I could say that there is no legal ground for local organizers to have own anti-doping rules. Even more, since this competition was sanctioned by AIDA, there is in that time AIDA anti-doping rules who say that World WADA anti-doping standards plus any anti-doping standards enacted by AIDA shall apply to all AIDA competitions. And these rules, which are, how to say, imposed by Vertical Blue, have never been accepted by AIDA. And also on AIDA prohibited list, there is possibility to put some additional substances, but those substances which should be, how to say, approved by AIDA executive board. And in general, we didn't have board decision regarding that. So the luggage is searched, and the luggage is searched by police. By police, when I say by police, you will see all circumstances about that. And they found in the luggage of Petar benzodiazepines, diuretic, Invitomir Maricic benzodiazepines, and Insania Delia Viagra. And all those drugs, how to say, have been searched by William Trubridge and the local police officer. The report which they've got it looked like this. So somehow they did, how to say, they did picture of each drug, and they put each drug on the list, and somebody signed that. That signature look like this, and this is, we could agree that is not official police report, and this is not the report which is signed by an official, how to say, police officer. It's not done by on a legal and official way. And everything was happening look like this. So what we have here a remote police station. The luggage is taken by William Trubridge into this room, whatever it is. And then it's searched by him under the, how to say, observation of the police officer who was not obviously on duty, just was in police officer uniform. And the report which you saw was released after that. So this police search is not defined by WADA code and the relevant international standards, because WADA is never doing that by itself. If they are doing with police office, but this is, how to say, organized action with as official organized action, like they did it in the past. So somehow this was not done by police officer on duty, obviously. There were no search warrants, and not done in the police office. It's done somewhere in Bahamas. So we could say this is unlawful police research. In the same time, out of competition doping control is performed, and we could see that from the paper and picture which we have. So on those doping control forms, there is something which you should understand and you should know. There is a place for testing authority, service providers, result management authority, and for all that, Bahamas NADO, Bahamas Anti-Doping Committee, was in charge. The process is done by the doping control officer, Dominic Lang, which I met during the last WADA meeting. And in the moment when he did it, he didn't have a proper and valid doping control license. Result of that out of competition control was negative. So you could see here, this is the doping control form, which was done on the spot. It's obviously here for you what is important to see, that testing authority, service provider, and result management is Bahamas Anti-Doping Agency. Doesn't have anything with local organizers, but local organizers influence them to do that. And we will speak later how that reflected on the anti-doping world organization. This is the license of doping control officer. It's obviously that the license was valid until February last year, and this was done in July. So somehow the doping control officer, despite he is a doping control officer, was with improper document there. And that is also written in the code that doping control officers should have official documentation, proper identification, and expiry date of identification should be right. And in this case, it was not. So the result which came from the lab proved that the result was negative. And we could see here something very interesting, that Vitomir was tested in practically in 3 months, 3 times. And that is quite unusual for the sport like free diving, because I could understand that this is Novak Djokovic case in tennis or Usain Bolt in athletics, but in free diving, such usually testing is not happening really. There are no statistics who is proving that, but luckily all the results have been negative. This out of competition control, what I could say for that, that competition control is done with no mission order. It's not ordered by international federations, either AIDA or CIMAS, not done in doping control station, and DCO didn't have valid license. And how it's happened, everything. It's happened on the way that Vertical Blue actually got the license from AIDA to do the competition, but in the same time, Vertical Blue asked by Bahamian Anti-Doping Commission to do the doping test, and in the same time, Vertical Blue agreed with some police officers from Bahamas Police Office to do search. Everything was done as I described, with police officer out of duty, with no search warrant, not done in police office. In the same time, everything what was done during the doping control, it's against the rule. It's done without mission order, not ordered by international federations, not done in doping control station, and DCO didn't have valid license. So I could say that Bahamas Anti-Doping Agency somehow is misinformed by Vertical Blue. And because of that, Bahamas Anti-Doping Agency have been in a, how to say, bad position, because officially they should do some kind of result management. I spoke with the president of Bahamas Anti-Doping Agency, and they told me that they shift the case to International Testing Agency. Why they did it? Because they didn't have power to solve the case. And International Testing Agency is doing all anti-doping program in the name of CIMAS. So CIMAS doesn't have anti-doping committee. They, how to say, transfer their rights of anti-doping to International Testing Agency. The lawyer of International Testing Agency searched the case, and they concluded there is no anti-doping rule violation, and they stopped the process. But in that process, CIMAS was in a position to, how to say, discuss internally what to do, and they decided to use code of ethics and punish the athletes because of anti-doping rule, potential anti-doping rule violation. They used the statute of CIMAS and code of ethics of CIMAS. And what they did it, President suspended athletes on the 26th of July. In order that a decision is valid, CIMAS board ratified that suspension on 23rd September. And very soon after that, judges or from the Code of Ethics of CIMAS decided to suspend the athletes for 6 months and punish them for €5,000 each, plus court expenses, which are €2,500. So everything what's happened actually was done by using a statute and code of ethics of SMAS, and the president used the, how to say, president of SMAS used the position to suspend athletes until they do the final decision. And the final decision was grounded on the article of Code of Ethics, where is written that athletes should behave with fairness and honesty, and that all anti-doping practices in underwater activities, sport is committed to be a drug-free sport. Since the authority which is in charge to do that, International Testing Agency, didn't decide anything about that, they transferred actually everything to Code of Ethics, which is quite interesting and peculiar. And finally, this is the end of decision of CIMAS Code of Ethics, where is written, as you could see here, that athletes should be suspended 6 months for any sport activity and be fined with €5,000 each. In the whole process, what I could also add, since we are dealing with ethics for many years and we publish the papers, we are medical doctors, but we have in our team a lawyer, and sport ethics is very important for us. So somehow I could say that not only they how to say breach the anti-doping regulations, they breach the human rights in vertical blue case, the human rights of the athletes. The first right is right to liberty and security. And what we could say that athletes can have been unlawful and illegitimate searched, stopped and searched by police officers, and deprivation of is a deprivation of liberty, as well as a questioning in a police station or in a similar room. Police officers were off duty. The athletes never received or signed received or signed the police report. This is also what is also important to say here that this is unlawful and illegitimate anti-doping test, and the unfounded factual background of the deed of indictment is also interesting because search not conducted by local authorities but Mr. Trubridge. What is how to say a second human rights violation? It's a right to respect private life and protect personal data. You will see here, I will remove the sound. You will see here that athletes are secretly recorded without consent, and then everything is published on the internet, on YouTube channel, and everything is subtitled in English and Croatian in order to prove that they're, how to say, doing some kind of violation, which we saw that it was judged by International Testing Agency the opposite. But somehow, I mean, even this as an argument was not, how to say, important for CIMA's Code of Ethics to actually sanction somebody who did this, not somebody, how to say, who was charged by them. So human rights of protecting personal data and private life was violated here because athletes have been secretly recorded. As well, what is also important that that Vertical Blue did it even against their own anti-doping regulations, which they did it because according to that, this secret recording could be only done to either judge or doping officer. So it was done by Mr. Trubridge. And what is also important that everything was distributed on social media platforms in a parrot and attempt of witch hunt against Maricic and Clover. So somehow they didn't do any consent or authorization through the whole process of this. And finally, what we found out that right to a fair trial is here jeopardized because we could see here a signature of three judges of CIMA's Code of Ethics, and they are all coming from the same country. The structure of CIMA's disciplinary committee is without a precedent among international organizations. Judges normally come from different legal systems and legal countries. And the only one judge in this, how to say, in this case was the judge with anti-doping expertise. So independence and impartiality of judicial body is a key component of the right to fair trial. And that is even written in the European Convention of Human Rights. And composition of judicial body must offer sufficient guarantees to exclude any legitimate doubt in respect of its impartiality. So somehow this is quite unusual, and I had never in my 20 years, how to say, practice, I never see that, because usually the judges is coming from different countries and different national federations. Finally, as a conclusion, we could say that this case clearly provides and support thesis that athletes doesn't have sufficiently strong safeguards, that safeguards are undeveloped and unclear. It also shows that athletes are vulnerable and there is no secure way to protect their rights. instead of sanctioning the main culprit in this whole event, Mr. Trubich, CIMAS took advantage to punish athletes for an alleged anti-doping violation treated as an ethical violation. So what we need to, how to say that definitely CIMAS Code of Ethics need review and provide a better definition. And and the last thing which I like to say that we should prevent unilateral interpretation of to determinant of the athletes and protect their vulnerability and elementary human rights. So somehow this was the presentation which I did on conference, European Conference of Ethics in Zagreb, and I believe this has a valuable an important message for thinking and further action. Thank you very much. And I'm here for any question from your side.
Thank you, Nenad.
I never asked this actually a professional, but for me it was a common sense. So I would ask a question here. If at any point we were using furosemide, this would be, I suppose, detectable in any of the tests that we've done throughout the years, or there, or a week after, or a month before.
Definitely, that is so easy. I mean, because we never fail with that, and I mean our anti-doping how to say practice and analysis in the labs show that that is how to say so easy. So somehow, obviously, you didn't use it because you have been, as I showed, tested 3 times in a row in 3 months, and I mean the results were negative.
And is there any more information about the controls that were done on us in Dominica that were also ordered by William Trubridge, and they were never in our ADAMS systems, also as out of competition controls? We tried to inquire more about them, but we never found out any better information on that.
If it is not in the ADAMS system, that is even worse because actually it is forbidden to do doping control on the people and discard the results. It's even forbidden to discard the samples. Even if we don't want to do the doping analysis, we should send samples to the lab, and samples should be destroyed there. So somehow, I mean, this is something which I tried to search and I didn't get a proper answer. And we don't know the results of those controls. And actually, we don't understand who ordered it and how they are realized. On the contrary, regarding the controls which are done on Bahamas, are done by official doping control officers who was with a license who was not valid in that moment. But in general, luckily, he's doing doping control for Bahamas Anti-Doping Commission for a long time. And I met him on a WADA conference this year in Lausanne, and I spoke with him, and he did it just because he got how to say to do that from his Bahamas Anti-Doping Commission.
And what would be is there any, we're still trying to kind of protect our rights and show this in a proper way. Is there any way that you would seem fit to report this other than CIMAS and IDA, where we already reported it? We all know how CIMAS ended up, and we're planning to make another disciplinary committee appeal to IDA, since we got the information from IDA that they never ordered control on us. The officers on Dominica were official officers with an identification. We didn't check them. Well, we didn't have reason to doubt that. The control was done quite professional, but they didn't have any kind of WADA documentation. They only had AIDA documentation, and they said themselves that William Trubridge and Vertical Blue sent them to find us in Dominica. at that point we thought that this is in collaboration with IDA. So that was one thing, and another thing was that I actually forgot. I'm going to remember, but you can answer if there is any illegal way outside of IDA or CIMAS that we could search for this. Also, the other thing that I wanted to ask was the behavior of the anti-doping agent, which was clearly heavily influenced by William Trubridge, because he was asking him when to test us, where to test us, who to test, on which I was strongly objecting this because I know it's against the rules and regulations, but no one really cared. Isn't there no organ inside of WADA as a monitoring agency or ITA as an anti-doping agency and service provider or anyone else who actually does sanction these things? Because I assume these things happen everywhere, but where to report them and how to do this in case this happens to any other athlete in the world?
I mean, in general, you have, as we discussed, two possibilities. You have the chance to go to CAS, that is, how to say, instance, which is the higher in the world of sports. It's a court of arbitration for sport in Lausanne. And unfortunately, the only objection regarding that is the fact that that will be the, how to say, potentially expensive process for you. And since you already have been spent some money and charged by CIMAS, I'm not sure that is a good option for you. And the second thing is to go to WADA ombudsman, who should try to do something to protect your rights. And safeguarding, as I said here, is not proper and it's not properly developed. And athletes, as you said, are probably, how to say, in the same position like you in many other different occasions. So somehow we are planning to publish this as an article in order to have it in literature as a clear example of, how to say, problem with safeguard of the athletes.
Yes, we did contact a lawyer's office and we did intend to go to CAS, but the problem that happened, at least our consultants in the lawyer's office said so, that the moment that CIMAS realized that there is no anti-doping case and the case became an ethical violation, they basically said that there is nothing to complain about the ethical violation because the ethical violation is completely undefined. So it wouldn't make sense for us to go to court, but maybe it would be possible to go directly for other violations and not for this personal case that was specifically connected to ethical violation. And we are discussing this now with Ombuds. We did contact them recently, and they seem to be very helpful and knowledgeable. So it is something that should be maybe also advertised a bit more so that athletes know that there is this office that can be an advisory panel for them.
I agree, and I'm sorry because actually something which is a kind of a potential anti-doping rule violation is used as a violation of code of ethics, and you've been punished because of that, and that's not simply fair. So somehow that should be, how to say, try to be challenged on official way. Is there anybody else from the group who are listening this who like to ask something or how to say, discuss this? I don't see even any message in chat. So
no messages, no questions for now, Nenad.
Muhammad,
Maybe
you're here. Nice.
Maybe later.
Yeah.
I have to process this.
Okay, I will how to say, finish recording, and I believe that there will be the time when we could discuss further. So in general, thank you all for participating, and I hope this will be, how to say, proper material for further discussion.
Thank you.